There we go. Welcome. It is my pleasure today to introduce the recipient of the Peter Chaffey Economic Development Leadership Award for 2021, Shaun Miller. For those of you watching who might not be aware, Peter Chaffey was the recipient of the Economic Development Agent of Change Award in 2017, and Peter sadly passed away shortly after receiving that award. Peter Chaffey was a true economic development leader, and it is EDA's honour to have received his family's position to rename the Agent of Change Award in his honour. Now, this award recognises an individual who has demonstrated exemplary performance in the economic development professional. Successful nominations have had significant impact on revitalising communities and will have been at the forefront of developing and delivering projects that drive innovation and change. They will have played a major role in shaping and improving the practice of economic development. And as I said, it's my pleasure today to introduce the Peter Chaffey Economic Development Leadership Award winner for 2020, Shaun Miller. Welcome, Shaun, and congratulations. It's great to see you there. It looks like you're taking a bit of a break from...
Yeah, it's, I'm in a regional location of Echuca at the moment, taking this call, it's been very, very nice to get out and support another regional area of Victoria, that's for sure.
Yeah, fantastic. Gosh, don't we all need a change of scene at the moment? Shaun, you served as Manager Economic Development and Investment at Warrnambool City Council for over 4 years. When you arrived in 2016, you were met with a city facing considerable economic and social disruption. What are some of the challenges that the city was facing when you commenced there?
It's a good question. I think it's really interesting to talk you through why I thought Warrnambool was going to be a really good place to be working in economic development. I didn't have a local government background. I'd spent a lot of time in doing business development activities internationally, and Warrnambool ticked a lot of boxes from a lifestyle point of view, but it was also a city that had a university. It was sort of the service centre of a large dairy agricultural region. I thought, okay, well, it's got a diverse economy, it's got really good support, dairy industry is fairly solid, and the university's there. It seemed like a really good it seemed to have really good foundational bones in the city. And so I accepted the role, moved to Warrnambool, and in the first month, the university was threatening to leave, and the dairy industry had major disruption. There was a bit of a clawback through the dairy producers, and the farmers were a bit concerned around what that would do to their livelihoods. And then obviously the flow-on effects to somewhere like Warrnambool would be quite phenomenal, because it is the service centre. So your retail industry is going to be affected, your professional services is going to be affected. And it was quite a shake-up in regards to what I thought I was going into versus what I experienced in that first little while.
Yeah, sure. And it's difficult, isn't it, when that happens? But it's a good way to hit the ground running, right?
Well, I mean, the problems were identified pretty early. So I think sometimes, holding on to university was a criticality, and it was really good to see the community really mobilise and get behind that. I think there's an element of complacency sometimes around things institutions that have just existed. And it was really nice to see a bit of fight come back from the community and identifying a real issue. And they fought pretty hard. The federal government got behind that as an outcome, and we basically got a stay of execution for a small period of time to work out whether the university can become more viable. And then with the dairy industry, there was really good strategic regional support. So really coming together across the state governments, all the regional shires and city at the same table, working out exactly what needs to be done, who needs to take the lead on certain activities to ensure that we were going to get through this together.
Yeah, that sort of shared burning issue can be a good impetus for collaboration, right?
Absolutely.
And I know that pretty early on you recognised that some of the local tourism operators at that time were struggling to capitalise on the influx of Chinese travellers along the Great Ocean Road there, and that there was perhaps an opportunity. And I know you put some methodology into play there that has had fantastic results and certainly is adaptable to any opportunity. Can you talk a little bit about what you did to strengthen capacity in that that area?
Yeah, I think it was a really hard approach for us to undertake as a city, because everyone wants to make sure that you're the brand that all the tourists are coming to see. And I think it was recognising that the tourism, a lot of our tourists were coming along the Great Ocean Road, and we were a part of the Great Ocean Road. So, you know, although as a local tourism operator or the council would want to make sure that everyone's coming to Warrnambool, you know, it's improving the experience along the Great Ocean Road to make sure that that's the celebration, and Warrnambool would get a regional experience or play in there, and just ensuring that the touch points along that experience are something worth celebrating and promoting. So we as a city, we took a step back and looked at the I guess the experiences being undertaken by the tourism industry along the Great Ocean Road, and making sure that we are building champions and improving that as an experience. So it wasn't about Warrnambool doing a thing; it was about working together on a tourist doesn't see the borders. So as a tourism service or a tourism product, we couldn't go to market building a business support program that talked about borders either. So it was just something that made sure that we were enhancing the experiences and products along that journey.
So you really work to get a bit of a coalition of the willing to lift the experience. It's always always interesting to hear people say that tourists don't recognise borders. It's so important. You see that all over. You can really tell a destination that takes that approach, as opposed to those that are working in silos.
Yeah, and it's great. I mean, the region of where Warrnambool is located is very large, and there is a number of different shires along that tourism experience, and some great product within there. But to have places like Surf Coast and Colac Otway Shire, Cranmont Shire, Moyne Shire, Glenelg, all working together on what was a better tourism experience was a great outcome. Really proud of that the China Host program in particular, and really was a program that we did with Asian Link Business, and something I'm enormously proud of.
Yeah, and also an EDA award-winning project, I recall. One of the letters of support for your nomination came from a professional artist in Warrnambool, who I think has become rather famous thanks to a certain wombat, and viewers need to go and just Google that, Wombat Warrnambool. It's a great story. But he stated that the opportunity for his very first public artwork was made possible through a project you initiated called Beers and Ideas. And the title of that initiative, we've talked about this at EDA a bit, it always catches people's attention for obvious reasons. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it's probably two parts to that. It's really quite. I'm really grateful for Jimmy to sort of put in a letter of support, and he has been incredible for the city, and really gives back, and he's doing some amazing work in Geelong at the moment. So his profile is expanding, but Beers and Ideas was definitely about trying to find a way to ensure that there was collective buy-in from the community around. I felt like in Warrnambool, there's a lot of people who would stop me in the street and say, Shaun, council should do something about this, or what you should do, you should do this. And it's really hard for councils to be involved in everything, but there is an expectation that we could and should be. And so it was about trying to find a way that we could empower the community to reverse that model. So what we wanted to do was set up a place or a committee that allowed people to come forward and say, I've got an idea for the city. Here it is, to a group. They pitch the idea. The events themselves cost $10 to come in, and that $10 gets you a drink and a vote. 4 people pitch an idea, everyone in that room votes for the winning idea, and then we as council would get rid of any red tape that was required to ensure that could be implemented pretty quickly. And we would also give some match funding in the beginning of the program. And it was just, it just helped empower people to do things, and I think improve the public buy-in around those ideas, because everyone had, because of the investment in the beginning of the events, people took ownership of the ideas that come out of that. So again, it's been an incredible program and it's despite me leaving council, it's something that's continued on, and some people like my colleague Helen Sheedy has been incredible at continuing that work.
Yeah, absolutely. And every time Helen talks about that project, I know that about 3 councils endeavour to copy that project, which is great. That's what we like, yeah? When something works, it can be replicated. Yeah, it's fantastic. One of your many achievements at Warrnambool was securing a $2 million grant, I think, to or investment to develop a hydrogen energy precinct at the Deakin campus. And that certainly has done wonders to put the city at the forefront of that global industry. What did that work entail, and what impact has that had on the city thus far?
Yeah, it was, it was work that started back in 2017 or 2018. And it was just, I was trying to find an industry that aligns so much with the 2040 plan. So there's a community plan that talked about being very, very environmentally conscious. And we had the underlying programs around the green plan, which supported that. And then we had an economic development strategy, which talked about potential areas of investment around renewables. I thought hydrogen was going to be a potential industry. It was sort of being talked about a little bit more. And then I just wanted to work out how we could start to have an involvement in that. So I started doing global research in regards to different places around the world that were doing stuff in that space so I could learn. Fortunately enough, came across a city very, very similar size to Warrnambool called Maristad in Sweden. And they're in the forefront of this stuff. They're the first off-grid hydrogen refueling station for their vehicles. And if you have a hydrogen car in that town, you can fill up your car for free because it's just powered by solar power. And, on the forefront of all these things, but it was a city that's actually smaller in population than us. So it wasn't about the size, it was about the drive and the outcome. So I took that model, invited them over. They flew out to Australia, the mayor, business development manager, talked to our community about what they were doing in that space. And that really started to build the social license around getting, it's not a case of if hydrogen works or can work, it's a case of how we as a city are going to use it. And fortunately, partnerships really, really started to spread from that. Deakin University obviously took a major lead in regards to wanting to build their interest in this space. Federal government were really, really supportive. The Hydrogen Task Force was really supportive. Southwest TAFE got on board and was supportive. And then I think that for an investment perspective, because we had the partnerships in place, industry involved, we had Kenworth come on board as a strategic partner. The business case just made sense for a logical investment for the federal government. So it wasn't. It's the work's still not done yet. There's still a lot of work to be done in that space, but it was definitely a bit of a moonshot for the city. I don't think we were definitely the ideal location when we started the work, but we had to make sure that by the time we presented it, that we had reversed that.
That's such a great example, Shaun. And I think all of the work that was highlighted in your application and just the few examples that we've heard today indicate that you really epitomise what it is to be a good economic development practitioner, which is that you're the bridge builder and the glue in the community. We talk about that conceptually, but you very much personify that approach. You really understand the power of collaboration and how to pull who's who in the zoo together to really get things done. So we're very proud to be able to award this award to you this year, and we really thank you for your continued involvement in EDA, congratulate you on all your achievements, and really look forward to seeing what you do next. Thanks so much for joining us.
Really appreciate it. I just wanted to say it's not lost on me the history and the namesake of Peter Chaffey. I know people like Mark Holsworth and Darryl Wilson, who speak very, very highly of him. I unfortunately started the profession just as unfortunately he exited. So I really was inspired by his work and hope that he continues to inspire others through that work as well.
Well, it will indeed. Well, thank you again so much for joining us. See you soon.
Thank you so much, Jacqueline.
Thanks, Shaun.